A broke mechanic helped a millionaire in crisis. Minutes later, he was asked to be a husband. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is now. Subscribe to the channel and let's get started. The hangar buzzed, a hive of polished suits and frantic voices. Victoria Sterling stood by her private jet, its sleek frame betrayed by a faint hiss from the fuel line. Engineers, their tablets glowing, muttered jargon. Pressures, valves, impossibilities. Her green eyes flicked to the clock. Delayed. Again. Her fingers grazed the silver locket at her throat, a nervous tick. "Get me someone who can fix this," she snapped, voice low but slicing through the din. Her assistant Clara nodded, phone already to her ear. "This guy, Miss Sterling?" Clara hesitated, eyeing the horizon, but dialed. Minutes later, a battered pickup rattled into the hangar. Out stepped Hank Peterson, flannel shirt streaked with grease, cap pulled low. His boots thudded on concrete, unhurried. The crowd parted, some smirking at his worn hands, others whispering. "A mechanic? Here?" Victoria's brow arched, but she said nothing. Hank knelt by the jet's underbelly, toolbox clanging open. His hazel eyes scanned the maze of pipes, fingers tracing a line. The hiss grew louder, a venomous warning. "Cracked fuel line," he muttered, voice like gravel. "Could have blown in 10 minutes. The lead engineer scoffed. "We checked that. It's fine." Hank didn't look up. His wrench twisted, swift and sure. Sparks flicked as metal met metal. Victoria watched, arms crossed, her heels clicking as she shifted. His hands moved like a musician's, each turn deliberate, no flourish. The crowd hushed. A bead of sweat rolled down his temple. "Hand me the sealant," Hank said, palm outstretched. Clara fumbled, passing a tube. Hank smeared it over the crack, his touch steady. The hiss faded. He tightened a bolt, stood, and wiped his hands on his jeans. "Start her up." The engineer hesitated, then signaled the pilot. The jet's engines whined, then roared, a clean hum filling the hangar. No leaks, no sparks. Victoria exhaled, her shoulders easing. The engineers packed their tablets, muttering, their scorn silenced by the jet's hum. The crowd dispersed, leaving Hank's work to speak for itself. She approached, her shadow falling over him. "That was impressive," she said, voice softer now. "What's your name?" "Hank Peterson." He met her gaze, eyes steady, carrying a quiet curiosity, like he sensed a thread unspoken. It vanished as he tipped his cap. "Just doing my job, ma'am." "Victoria Sterling." She extended a hand, her locket glinting. His grip was firm, calluses rough against her skin. "You saved me today. Name your price." Hank shook his head, a faint smile tugging his lips. "Not about money, jet's safe. That's enough." Her lips parted, but no words came. She wasn't used to this. Someone untouched by her wealth, her name. The hangar's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting shadows. Hank slung his toolbox over his shoulder, turning to leave. "Wait," she called, stepping closer. "Let me thank you properly. Dinner, maybe? My treat." He paused, glancing back. His eyes lingered on her, not her suit or her jet, but her. The look held weight, like he saw something she didn't. "Maybe another time," he said, voice quiet. "Got a carburetor waiting at the shop." She watched him walk away, his silhouette fading into the hangar's mouth. Clara rattled off schedules, but Victoria stood still, the locket warm under her fingers. Hank's glance nagged at her, a half-seen shadow in dawn's light. Did he know something? No, impossible. Yet his eyes had held a spark, one he hadn't spoken. The jet's hum softened as it taxied out. Victoria's phone buzzed. Calls, meetings, a world impatient for her. She ignored it, staring at the spot where Hank had stood. A breeze carried the scent of oil and metal, stirring something she couldn't name. She'd find him again, not for the jet, but for that look, that unspoken truth hovering between them like a lantern's glow in a village night. Victoria's heels clicked on the cracked pavement outside Hank's repair shop, a squat building dwarfed by rusted propellers and a faded sign, Peterson's Fixes. The morning sun baked the air, heavy with oil and dust. She adjusted her blouse, feeling out of place, her locket swaying as she moved. Why was she here? Gratitude, she told herself, but his quiet curiosity from the hangar gnawed at her, a puzzle unsolved. His glance had lit a spark in her, a need to know more. Inside the shop was a maze of tools and engine parts. Hank hunched over a workbench, wrench twisting a bolt, his flannel sleeves rolled up. Grease smudged his forearms, his cap casting a shadow over his lined face. He didn't look up as the bell jingled, but his shoulders tensed. "Mr. Peterson?" Victoria's voice cut through the clank of metal. She stepped forward, dodging a stray hose. I wanted to thank you again. Hank's wrench paused. He straightened, wiping his hands on a rag, and tilted his head, studying her, a question unspoken. Did that already, Miss Sterling? His tone was polite but clipped, like he'd rather be alone with his bolts. She smiled undeterred, fingers brushing her locket. Call me Victoria, and I insist. You saved my jet. My life, maybe. Her words hung, earnest, but his gaze flickered, guarded. Jets break. I fix them. No need for a parade. He turned back to the workbench, grabbing a screwdriver. The dismissal stung, but she stayed, her eyes roaming the shop. A cracked radio hummed a folk tune, and the scent of oil stirred something, a memory faint, like her father's garage long ago. You don't like company, do you? She said, half teasing, leaning against a toolbox. Her sleeve brushed a wrench, and it clattered to the floor. She winced, bending to grab it. Careful. Hank's hand shot out, steadying the toolbox. Their fingers grazed, his calluses rough against her skin. He pulled back fast, like he'd touched fire. Ain't used to visitors, he muttered, eyes on the floor. She stood, holding the wrench out. I'm not here to disrupt, just curious about you. Her voice softened, probing. His world, so raw, so unlike hers, felt like a door to something she'd lost. Hank took the wrench, his movement slow. Not much to know. Fix things. Live simple. He set the tool down, his fingers lingering on it. The radio crackled and a breeze carried dust through an open window, swirling like ghosts. Victoria's gaze fell on a tin box on a shelf, its edges catching her eye. Your father? She asked, stepping closer, sensing a story behind it. The box's dented surface tugged at her, like one her father once kept. Hank nodded, jaw tight. Yeah, taught me everything. His voice dropped, heavy with something unspoken. Gone 10 years now? Her chest tightened. Mine too, she said, almost a whisper. 5 years. He built Sterling Skytech from nothing. She clutched her locket, the words spilling out. I miss him, every day. Hank's eyes flicked to her, softening for a heartbeat. Losing him leaves a hole, he said, low, like he hadn't meant to speak. He turned away, grabbing a rag, busying his hands. The silence stretched, thick with shared ache. Victoria's fingers traced the locket's edge, her father's laugh echoing in her mind. This shop, its grit and clang, felt like his old stories, grease-stained days before the empire. She wanted to say more, to ask about Hank's father, but his name stuck in her throat. You ever think about them? She asked instead, voice barely above the radio's hum. What they'd say, seeing us now? Hank froze, rag in hand. His eyes darted to the tin box, then back to her. All the time, he said, quieter than before. Her name, Sterling, hung in his pause, a flicker of wonder, like a name half remembered. The air shifted, like a song caught in the throat, unsung. He cleared his throat, tossing the rag down. Got work to finish. He nodded toward the door, not unkindly. You got a jet to catch, I reckon. Victoria hesitated, her heels scuffing the floor. His silence said more than his words, a secret buried in that pause. She wanted to stay, to unravel it, but his walls were up, solid as the shop's beams. I'll come back, she said, half promise, half defiance. Hank's lips twitched, not quite a smile. Suit yourself. He turned to his workbench, the screwdriver spinning again. She stepped outside, the sun blinding, her locket warm under her skin. His pause, his glance, lingered like dust in the air. Something about her father's name had stirred him. She'd find out why, even if it meant walking back into his world of oil and silence. The evening air was thick with dust as Victoria followed Hank down a dirt path, her boots sinking into the earth. Her blouse, simple but still out of place, clung to her skin, her locket resting cool against her skin. Hank's old hangar loomed ahead, a sagging relic of corrugated metal, its windows cracked and worn. His boots crunched, toolbox swinging, his silence louder than words. Why here? She asked, voice sharp to cut the quiet. Her breath puffed in the cooling air, her choice to trade heels for boots feeling right, like a step toward his world. Hank glanced back, hazel eyes unreadable. You wanted to know me. This is me. He pushed open the hangar's door, hinges screeching. The smell hit her, oil, rust, and something older, like time itself. A single bulb flickered overhead, casting shadows across engine parts and cobwebbed crates. She stepped inside, boots thudding on concrete. This yours? Her gaze swept the clutter, tools scattered like fallen leaves, a half-dismantled propeller leaning against a wall. Was my father's, Hank said, setting his toolbox down with a thud. He moved to a workbench, pulling a tarp off a stack of boxes. Still keep his things. His voice was low, each word measured, like he was handing her something fragile. Victoria's fingers grazed her locket, her father's face flashing in her mind. His grin, his stories of greasy hands and roaring engines. She watched Hank rummage, his flannel stretched across his shoulders, his hands deft but careful. "You miss him," she said, not a question. He nodded, not looking up. "Every day." He pulled out a tin box, its edges dented, and opened it. Inside were photos, yellowed and curling. He held one up. A man with his jawline, older, standing by a biplane. This was him. Taught me everything. Their eyes met, a current passing, not just of memory but of something alive, stirring her heart like a breeze over a still pond. She stepped closer, the bulb's light pooling around them. The photo's grainy details tugged at her, the plane's curves familiar, like sketches her father once showed her. "He looks kind," she said, voice softening. She caught the way his fingers lingered on the photo, tender, almost reverent. "He was." Hank's voice cracked, just a hair. He handed her another photo, his gaze darting to her face, searching. "Look at this one." She took it, her breath catching. Two men stood by a plane, one Hank's father, the other. Her heart stopped, young, grinning with her father's sharp cheekbones. "That's..." She clutched the photo, her fingers trembling. "That's my father." Hank's eyes widened, but only for a second. He nodded like he'd known. "Heard the name Sterling before, in my father's stories. Didn't know it was your dad till now." His voice was steady but heavy. "Found that a while back. Never knew his name till you said Sterling." Her throat tightened. She traced her father's face in the photo, the past rushing in, his late-night tales, his pride in those early days. This hangar, this man, tied her to that route, raw and real. They worked together. Her voice was a whisper, the hangar's shadows pressing closer. She saw it now, the stories her father told, learning to fix planes under a mentor's eye. That mentor was Hank's father. "Seems so," Hank said, leaning against the workbench. His cap shadowed his eyes, but his gaze held hers, soft, like he saw her anew. "Your dad learned from mine, before he built that empire of yours." She set the photo down, her fingers lingering. The bulb buzzed, flickering. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a reminder of the board's impatient calls, but she silenced it, her heart here. "Why didn't you say anything?" Her voice was sharp, almost accusing. Hank shrugged, hands in his pockets. "Didn't know for sure, and you didn't come here for my stories." His words were gentle, but they stung, peeling back her guarded heart. "I came for you," she said, the truth slipping out, raw as the hangar's air. Her eyes met his, and for a moment the world was just them. Two souls tethered by a faded image, a shared loss. Hank's lips parted, but he didn't speak. His gaze shifted, like starlight revealing a new angle. "You're more than your name, Victoria," he said, voice low, each word a stone dropped in a still pond. So was he. She stood frozen, the photo between them like a bridge. The hangar's chills seeped into her bones, but her chest burned with something new. Hank wasn't just a mechanic, not anymore. He was a piece of her father's past, her own heart, seen anew under this dim, flickering light. Outside, a bird called, its cry fading into the dusk. The hangar's bulb buzzed, casting jagged shadows over the cluttered workbench. Victoria stood by the open door, the evening breeze tugging at her blouse, her locket glinting like a trapped star. Hank leaned against a crate, his flannel sleeves rolled up, hands worn by work. The photo of their fathers lay between them, its edges curling, a silent tether. Her heart raced, the air thick with the weight of what she'd just seen. Her father, young, tied to Hank's world. The spark from their shared glance yesterday, raw and alive, burned in her chest. She stepped closer, boots thudding on concrete, her voice trembling but firm. "Hank, marry me." The words burst out, raw, slicing through the hangar's hum. Her eyes locked on his, green and fierce, daring him to look away. Hank's wrench clattered to the floor. His hazel eyes widened, then narrowed, searching her face. "What?" His voice held a new warmth, like a dawn breaking, though still rough. He straightened, cap shadowing his brow, hands flexing as if to ground himself. "You heard me." Victoria's fingers twitched, seeking courage. "I'm tired of empty proposals, men chasing my name, my money. You're different. You see, me." Her words spilled fast, each one a stone cast into the stillness. I want you, Hank. Not your shop, not your tools. Just you. He stared jaw tight. The bulbs flickered, dancing across his lined face. A laugh escaped him, short and rough, not mocking but disbelieving. You don't know what you're asking, Victoria. He stepped back, boots firm on concrete, his gaze dropping to the photo. My life's grease and late nights, meals on toolboxes. No champagne, no fireworks. Her chest tightened, but she didn't flinch. I don't want fireworks. She moved closer, her shadow falling over him. I want real, like my father had. Before the suits, the boardrooms, like what he found here, with your father. Her voice cracked, the photo's memory fueling her. I can handle your world. Hank's eyes flicked up, steady, piercing. Can you? He gestured at the hangar, rusted tools, the raw edge of his life. This ain't a game. You'd trade your jets for this. His tone was sharp, not cruel, but testing, like a blade's edge. She nodded, chin high, though her hands shook. I would. The words felt like a vow, not just to him, but to the girl who'd listened to her father's stories, dreaming of a life unpolished. I'm not my money, Hank. I'm not my name. He turned away, grabbing a rag, wiping his hands though they were already clean. The silence stretched, heavy as the hangar's raw breath. You're chasing a ghost, he said, voice low, almost a whisper. Your father's past, not me. He tossed the rag down, its thud echoing. Her throat burned. It's not just him. She reached out, her fingers grazing his arm, light but firm. It's you, the way you move, the way you see. You fixed my jet, but you saw me. Her voice softened, pleading. Tell me you don't feel it. Hank froze, his arm tense under her touch. His eyes met hers, and for a heartbeat the hangar faded. The bulb, the tools, the world. Just them, two souls caught in a current. I feel it, he admitted, voice rough, like it cost him. But feeling ain't enough. You don't know me, not really. Then let me. She stepped back, giving him space, her eyes blazing, though fear flickered beneath. Fear he'd say no. Show me your world, all of it. If I can't handle it, I'll walk away. Her words were a challenge, her heart set on the woman she wanted to be. Hank's lips pressed thin, his gaze drifting to the photo. Their father's grin stared back, a legacy neither could escape. He exhaled, slow, like he was letting go of something heavy. All right, he said, voice barely above the breeze. Come back tomorrow. Wear something you don't mind ruining. His eyes held hers, a spark of something new. Trust, maybe, or hope. Victoria's breath caught, relief flooding her. She nodded, a small smile breaking through. Tomorrow, then. She turned to leave, the photo's weight in her heart, tying her to this place, to him. Her proposal wasn't just a whim, it was a thread to her father's roots, a longing she hadn't named until now, woven into the grit of Hank's world. Outside, the dusk swallowed the hangar, a bird's call fading into the dark. Her boots sank into the dirt, but she didn't care. Hank's warning echoed. Grease, late nights, no fireworks. She'd prove she could live it for the woman she was becoming. The locket swung as she walked, its rhythm steady, like a pulse tying her to tomorrow. Victoria's borrowed flannel hung loose on her frame, cuffs rolled up, the scent of oil clinging to its fibers. Her heels were gone, swapped for scuffed boots Hank had dug from a crate. The hangar's morning light spilled through faded panes, glinting off the toolbox where she stood, passing Hank a wrench. Her hands, once soft, bore faint calluses now, a mark of her choice. 3 days this week she'd come here, each one chipping away at her polished edges. The board had tracked her here, their patience thinning, demanding her return, but she'd ignored their calls. Hold it steady, Hank said, voice gentle, like a breeze through reeds, his hands guiding hers to grip the wrench. His calluses brushed her skin, warm and rough, as they tightened a bolt on an old Cessna's wing. His cap shadowed his eyes, but she caught their flicker, watching, waiting, like he expected her to tire of this life. Like this? She twisted the wrench, her arms straining, a bead of sweat rolling down her neck. The metal groaned, yielding. Her lips curved, a small triumph. This was nothing like boardrooms, yet her heart thrummed, alive in the clank and creak. Hank nodded, a ghost of a smile tugging his mouth. Not bad. He stepped back, wiping his hands on his jeans, his presence a balm, easing the ache he'd carried alone. You're stubborn, I'll give you that. She laughed, sharp and bright, the sound bouncing off the hangar's walls. You say that like it's news. She handed him the wrench, their fingers grazing, a spark she didn't name. Her eyes flicked to the workbench where their father's photo sat, its edges curling. That image drove her here, but now it was Hank, his quiet strength, his world of grit, keeping her. He turned to the Cessna, grabbing a rag, but his movements slowed like he felt the shift too. "Why are you here, Victoria?" His voice was soft, not accusing, but piercing. "Really?" Her breath caught. She leaned against the plane, boots firm on concrete, her locket gleaming softly as she leaned. "I told you. I want this. You." Her words were firm, but her hands fidgeted, betraying the fear beneath. Fear she'd falter, unable to endure his world, leaving them both broken, like a crack spreading in a village well. Hank tilted his head, studying her, a question unspoken. "This life's hard. Long hours, no glory. You could have anything, anyone." He tossed the rag down, its thud sharp in the quiet. "Why me?" She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "Because you don't want my money, my name. You see, me." Her fingers brushed the locket, her father's resolve flashing in her mind. "And because of them," she nodded at the photo, "our fathers built something real. Their legacy wasn't just planes, but hearts joined in honest work. I want that, not an empire." His jaw tightened, but his eyes softened, a crack in his walls. "You're chasing roots," he said, voice gentle like a breeze through reeds. "But roots don't keep you warm at night." He turned away, grabbing a screwdriver, his shoulders hunched like he carried more than tools. Victoria's chest ached, his words a mirror to her doubts. She crossed the hangar, boots thudding, and grabbed a thermos from the workbench. "Coffee." She poured 2 mugs, the steam curling like a promise. She handed him one, her fingers brushing his, deliberate this time. He took it, their eyes locking over the mug's rim. "You don't quit," he muttered, but his lips twitched, almost a smile. He sipped, the silence settling, not heavy but warm, like a shared breath. They worked through the morning, her hands learning the Cessna's curves, his voice guiding, short, patient. She passed tools, held bolts, her movements surer each hour. Her flannel snagged on a wing, tearing, and she laughed, brushing it off. Hank watched, his gaze softer now, like he saw her anew. Her presence was a balm, easing his loneliness, a hollow ache shrinking in her light. By noon, they sat on crates, sharing sandwiches from a paper bag. Her fingers were smudged, her nails chipped, but she felt whole, grounded. "This feels right," she said, voice quiet, the words slipping out. "Being here, with you." Hank's mug paused at his lips. His eyes searched hers, and for a moment she saw it, his loneliness fading, though a deeper fear lingered, that she might tire of his world. "Your trouble," he said, voice low. But there was warmth there, a door creaking open. She grinned, but the moment cracked, her fear surfacing. Could she endure this life long term? The photo stared from the workbench, their father's resolve a call. Her choice to stay was healing him. She saw it in his eyes, but it unveiled her own rift, a fear she'd falter, leaving them both adrift. Clara's voice echoed from yesterday's call. "The board's restless, Miss Sterling. You're needed." Clara's tone had softened, sensing Victoria's resolve. "Just be sure," she'd said. Victoria had hung up, her choice clear, but the doubt lingered. Outside, the wind stirred, rattling the hangar's walls. Victoria set her mug down, her heart set. She'd stay, not just for him, but for the woman she was becoming, hands dirty, soul alight. The hangar's dim light pooled around the Cessna, its wing half-patched, tools scattered like fallen stars. Victoria sat on a crate, her flannel sleeves rolled up, traces of their work on her arms. Her boots steady on the floor, her choice to return for the 5th day of her visits a quiet vow. Hank knelt by the plane, wrench turning, his cap low, his silence heavier than the evening's hush. Each visit wove a thread of trust, their hands finding a shared cadence. But tonight, something shifted, like a river bending around a stone. She stood, brushing dust from her jeans, and crossed to the workbench. Their father's legacy lived in the hangar's air, a quiet force guiding their hands. Her fingers twitched, seeking courage, as she spoke, voice low, cutting the stillness. "You ever feel stuck? Like you're living for someone else?" Hank's wrench paused, his hazel eyes flicking to her. He straightened, wiping his hands on a rag, his jaw tight. "What's on your mind, Victoria?" His tone was gentle, though guarded, like he saw the storm brewing in her. She leaned against the workbench, her heart racing. I've spent years being what they wanted, she said, words spilling fast, sharp. The CEO, the heiress, every choice, every smile, for the board, the media. Her voice cracked, her hands clenching. I'm tired, Hank. Tired of not being me. Her eyes burned, but she didn't look away, daring him to see her rawness. Her fear lingered. Could she endure this life? But his presence, steady as the earth, quieted the doubt, like a stream smoothing a stone. He set the rag down, its thud soft but final. You think I don't get that? He said, voice low, warm as a kindled fire. He stepped closer, boots scuffing, his shadow falling over her. I've been my father's shadow since he died. This hangar, these tools, it's all him. His hand gestured at the clutter, then dropped, heavy. Sometimes I wonder if I'm living his life, not mine. Her breath caught, his words a mirror to her own heart. She saw it now, the weight he carried, not just tools but memory, tethering him to this place. Then why stay? She asked, voice barely above the bulb's buzz. Why not leave? Start over. Hank's lips pressed thin, his eyes drifting to the workbench. Because it's home, he said, soft, like a confession. And because I'm scared. The admission hung, raw, his gaze holding hers, a storm calmed. Scared to build something new. Scared it won't be enough. Her laughter filled the hangar, a sound he hadn't known he craved. His loneliness, once a hollow ache, shrank in her light, like a shadow at noon. The air thickened, their truths colliding like currents in a stream. Victoria's chest ached, her fear spilling out. I'm scared too, she said, stepping closer, her boots inches from his. Scared I'll lose myself again, trying to be what you need. Her voice trembled, but her eyes held his, fierce green alight. But I want this, Hank. Us. Not just our father's past, but what we could be. He froze, his breath hitching, the bulb's flicker dancing across his lined face. You don't know what you're asking, he said. But his voice wavered, softer now, like he wanted to believe her. His hand twitched, as if to reach for her, but he shoved it in his pocket, turning away. This life, it grinds you down. You'd hate it. Hate me. No. She grabbed his arm, her grip firm, pulling him back. I'd hate losing you. The words burst out, raw, her body leaning in. I see you, Hank. The man who fixes wings, who carries his father's heart. I want that man, grease and all. Her voice dropped, a plea. Tell me you don't want this too. Hank's gaze held hers. A storm calmed, the hangar fading, the tools, the plane, the world, leaving just them, two souls bared under flickering light. I want it, he admitted, voice rough, like it clawed its way out. More than I should, but I'm no Prince, Victoria. I'm just me. That's enough, she whispered, her hand sliding to his, her fingers lacing through his calluses. His grip tightened, warm, grounding, like an anchor in her chaos. She felt his pulse, steady, matching hers, and for a moment the fear dissolved, replaced by a quiet reckoning. Their hearts aligning, not in love alone, but in redemption, a shared path forward. He exhaled, slow, his cap tilting as he leaned closer, their foreheads nearly touching. You're trouble, he murmured, a smile ghosting his lips, soft as dusk. Always were. She laughed, sharp and bright, the sound echoing off the hangar's walls. And you're stubborn, she shot back, her eyes glinting. Good thing I like a challenge. Her free hand brushed his cheek, grease smudging her skin, and she didn't care. This was real, raw, hers. Hank's smile faded, his gaze shifting, like he saw something new. We're not what we thought, he said, voice low, almost reverent. Not just their kids carrying their ghosts. We're us. He saw it now. His life could be more than his father's echo, with her by his side. The words were a revelation, quiet but profound, like a path leading to an unexpected home. It was a home they'd built, brick by brick, in shared truths. Victoria's throat tightened, his truth settling deep. She'd come for her father's memory, for roots, but found something else. A life with Hank, not the one she'd sought, but the one she needed. Their father's legacy was no longer a weight, but a bridge guiding them here. Outside, the night pressed against the hangar, a cricket's chirp threading through the silence. They stood, hands clasped, the Cessna looming like a witness. What now? She asked, voice soft, her body leaning into him. Clara's last call had carried a note of understanding, her voice less urgent, as if sensing Victoria's new path. Hank's thumb brushed her knuckles, his eyes steady. "We keep going," he said, simple. "Sure. Fix the plane. Fix us." His voice held a promise, not grand, but true, like a lantern's glow in a village night. She nodded, her heart full. The fear still there, but smaller, shared. The bulb flickered out for a second, plunging them into dark. Her grip tightened, his hand warm, and when the light returned, their eyes met. A quiet vow sealed in the dust and grit. They weren't their fathers, not anymore. They were Victoria and Hank, forging something new, not the home they'd sought, but the one they'd found. The hangar's dawn light spilled through worn panes, painting the Cessna's wings gold. Victoria knelt beside Hank, her flannel dusted with the work of their hands, her calluses a mark of her choice. Her boots steady on the floor, 5 weeks since she first came, her visits now daily. Weeks had woven their days into a tapestry of shared silences and steady work. Each visit a step deeper into his world. Their bond grew not in grand gestures, but in the quiet of shared glances, like roots taking hold unseen. She stood as herself, no title needed, her soul alight in the dust of their work. Her journey from boardrooms to this hangar was complete, a path carved by her own hands. She'd found not just love, but herself in the hangar's quiet truce. Hank's wrench clicked in rhythm, his cap low, his hands sure. His grin came easier now, his heart no longer a solitary flame. He'd stepped beyond his father's shadow, ready to forge his own light with her. His heart, once tethered to memory, now beat for a future shared. The air smelled of oil and coffee, their mugs steaming on a crate. She paused, wiping sweat from her brow, and pulled the photo from her pocket, their fathers standing proud by a plane. "Hank," she said, voice soft but firm, "look at this again." She held it out, her fingers smudged, the image a bridge between them. He took it, his eyes softening, tracing his father's face. "Never thought I'd see this," he murmured, voice warm, like a hearth long lit. "Your dad, mine, together." He handed it back, his fingers brushing hers, warm, lingering. "You knew him?" She nodded, her locket swaying softly as she knelt. "He learned from your father. Those stories he told me. Grease, wings, late nights. It was here." Her voice cracked, the memory sharp. "They built something. So can we." Her eyes met his, green and fierce, a vow unspoken. Their father's work, wings and dreams, lived in their clasped hands, a legacy not of empires but of hearts. Hank's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Your trouble," he said, low, like a secret. He turned back to the Cessna, but his shoulders eased like a weight had lifted. Her words had struck deep, their father's bond a spark in his heart, no longer bound by solitude. They worked on, the plane's hum growing steady, a pulse matching their own. Victoria passed him a wrench, their hands grazing, a quiet rhythm built over weeks. The hangar's light softened, pooling around them. Outside, tires crunched, cars, voices, the world intruding. Word of her absence had spread, drawing the board to this unlikely place. Clara's shout cut through. "Ms. Sterling, the board's here!" Victoria froze, her breath catching. She stood, wiping her hands, and saw them. Suits, cameras, her old life crashing in. Hank glanced up, his eyes steady like an anchor. "You ready?" he asked, voice low, no judgment. She nodded, heart racing, and grabbed his hand, oil-stained and strong. "With you," she said, her grip tight, her fear of faltering gone, replaced by a certainty forged in grit and trust. They stepped outside, the sun blinding, the crowd's murmurs rising. Flashes popped, questions flew. "Where have you been? What's this?" But she faced them, chin high, Hank's hand in hers. "I'm done living for you," she said, voice clear, slicing the noise. "This is my life now, his." She squeezed Hank's hand, her eyes blazing. Not the heiress, but Victoria, raw, real. She stood as herself, no title needed, her soul alight in the dust of their work. The crowd hushed, stunned, her words a line drawn in the dust. Clara stood by the jet, clipboard in hand, her eyes meeting Victoria's, a quiet respect in her gaze. "I'll handle them," she said, stepping back, her role complete. Hank's thumb brushed her knuckles, his silence loud with pride. He didn't flinch under their stares, his flannel a badge, his heart hers. The photo's truth, their father's legacy, burned in her chest, tying her to this moment, this man. She turned to him, the crowd fading. "Let's go," she whispered, a smile breaking through, soft as dawn. He nodded, his eyes glinting, and they walked to her jet, its engines idling. Ready. The board shouted, cameras flashed, but she didn't look back. Her boots stepped sure on the tarmac, his beside her, a shared step into the unknown. They climbed aboard, the cabin quiet, the world shut out. She sank into a seat, still holding his hand. "Where to?" she asked, half laughing, her voice light, like an exhale. Hank leaned back, his cap tilting, a grin ghosting his lips. "Somewhere real," he said, simple, true. The jet's engines roared, lifting them up, the hangar shrinking below. The jet climbed, the horizon wide, their future not a map but a melody, soft and shared, like a folk song rising over fields. No answers waited, no grand ending, just them, hands clasped, hearts open, a new dawn built on grit, truth, and a legacy not of metal, but of souls bound by grit and grace. A legacy their fathers began, now theirs to carry, like a melody over endless fields. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that hope can be found in the most surprising moments, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heartwarming Love Story. We bring you stories that touch the soul, renew your belief in kindness, and highlight what's truly important in life.